This conference will now be recorded.
So no questions from anybody?
No, Ravi, we can start the session.
Yeah, okay. So actually, we are discussing about our Spark solution, Spark Streaming. Okay. So when it comes to your Spark Streaming, what is that? Here, the Spark Streaming engine is going to take the data from the live web server in the form of D streams. In the form of a D stream. This D stream is represents the sequence of RTDs. This is sequence of RTDs. So these sequence of RTDs are going to be processed by your Spark core engine. It is going to be processed by your Spark core engine, and it is going to provide some results RTDs. So these results RTDs, again, we can able to store this data into your HDFS location. So this is what kind of the flow that is going to be happens in between your streaming application when we are reading the data from the live web server. Okay. So here, in order to work with your streaming, we have to start the streaming context. Okay. Like how do we have Spark context and Spark session is available. In the same way, we have to start the streaming context. When the streaming context is started, then only it is going to try to listen to the server which we are going to specify in the streaming context. So to that server, the streaming context will listen and it is going to get the data in the form of your D streams. So this is what yesterday we have observed with the workflow by executing that, by executing that in the form of we are going to run that program by in a port number that we are generating the data, and we have seen how exactly that is getting received at the streaming engine and how it is going to be write the data into the HDFS file system also. So today we are going to see one more kind of the application with the Spark streaming. Okay. So generally what we did in the last session, we have generated some data and we have did some operations on it, and that output we have stored to the your HDFS location. Now what I am trying to do here is in this Spark streaming application, okay, I want to read the data which is available in some directory. That means in the directory I have some files data. So these files data, your streaming application has to interact with this directory, and it has to read these files data, and it has to show what is the data that is available in this file. Okay, what is the data that is available in this file? That means the streaming application is not only to read the live data, but it is also will be used to read the data from your existing files. So generally what is happening here when we go to your Spark core engine, what we did, we are going to provide that sc.text file. Okay, sc.text file are whole text files, and then we are going to read the data from some location. In this location, you can have some multiple files, and then we are going to read it. But here, what is happening here? I am going to read the data using of your streaming context. Using of your streaming context that I am going to read the data. Okay. Using the streaming context, I am going to read the data from the directory, and we will be seeing how exactly this application is going to run. Here, the most important thing here is whenever you read the data from the directory, already if the files are available, those files it is going to read, but you can also insert some new files to the same directory. That means I am inserting some new files. Whenever I insert a new files, what is going to happen? Your streaming context is going to read from that directory these new files only. This also should be remembered. Only the new files which have been inserted to the directory, that files it is going to read it. So let us see how exactly this application will be created and how we are going to see. And there is before I proceed this one, okay, I want to introduce one more thing for you people to understand and to develop these things here. Generally, these applications are not going to be runs on your shell prompt, that you know. Yesterday I have shown you that how exactly that in the shell prompt that we are executing and how we are going to get the data and how we are writing the data. Generally, what is going to happen? We are going to develop these applications either by what we can say by the IntelliJ IDEA, okay, either by IntelliJ IDEA or by SBT, Scalar Build Tool. Okay, first of all, we'll develop the applications, either of them, and then we are going to submit those jobs on your Spark cluster environment to get this streaming application, to stream the data and to process the data. So in order to integrate your IntelliJ IDEA with the or SBT, whatever you see, so to the streaming context, for the streaming people, for the streaming context, what we have to do, we have to set up, we have set up library dependencies for the Spark core application. In the same way, for the Spark streaming application also, we have to set up the library dependencies. Okay, Spark streaming library dependencies that we have to set up here. Okay, so now let us see how exactly this streaming applications are going to be set up here. I'm just trying to open this IntelliJ IDEA here. Let it get open, and I will show you how to make a link to this IntelliJ IDEA with the streaming application. So once it is getting updated, by then we'll run. Before that only, I will run the same code in your like a shell prompt, and I will show you how exactly we are going to read the data from the directory and how to process the data here. Let me show you that one here application. So Spark directory streaming. Okay. So which I have it. I will send you these files here. Okay. And you can able to refer the code also. First of all, we have to import this Spark conf object, because why we need to import this Spark conf object? Because whenever we are going to launch the job, either your streaming job or your Spark core job or SQL job, you are going to launch the job on your master mission. Am I correct? We are going to launch the job on master mission. So this master mission is going to be three ways, in generally. Either this master mission is a local mission, or you are going to run on YARN, or as a standalone cluster. Okay, these are the three things. That means you are going to set in your configuration object that my master mission is a local mission or YARN mission or standalone mission where I am submitting the Spark application, either streaming application or core application or SQL application. So for that, there is a one class is available, one object is available that is called Spark conf. Okay, this is the class which is available within the Spark library. We have to create this as an object in our application. Then we are going to set in the conf object, we are going to set what is my master mission where I want to launch. Am I clear with this one? You have to import this streaming context. There, this streaming application is going to take some seconds. What is the seconds? Seconds are represented to be your batch interval. And it is, we are going to import the streaming context that we are going to set here. Okay, in our object, this is my object name, and this is the main method. In my object, I am creating a one conf object. And in that conf object, I am going to set my master mission local to. So here, at least you have to assign two core processors here. Why we have to assign two core processors? It is a streaming application will never run with one single core processor. At least you need to assign two core processors. It will be more than that, but at least you have to assign two core processors. What is the purpose of going for these two core processors here? Generally, if you see in your streaming application, you are going to have one receiver. Okay, you're going to have one receiver. What is this receiver? This receiver is going to read the data from your either from the port number from where exactly the data has been generating. Okay, port number, or it is going to read the, now we are seeing from the directory where exactly the files are available, or any from web server. Okay. Any from web server, this receiver is going to read the data. To this one core processor is going to be assigned. After receiving the data, someone is going to be there. Whatever the received data is there, that should be collected. Okay, so that is means there is going to be collector, you can say. So to collect the data, there should be a one core processor should be there to collect the data. So then this collector, what it is going to write? It is going to write to the your HDFS location or your RDBMS server or somewhere that we are going to write it. So there will be a receiver. To receive the data, we need to have one core processor, and to collect that receiver data and write the data to your other locations, so HDFS or RDBMS server, then we need to have one core processor. So that is the reason in any application, if you see, we are going to set up at least two core processors here. So here in the build.svt, we have to set up a compatibility for the streaming application. For SQL application, you have to set up this one. How do you set up these things here? How do you set up these things here? We have to go to the Maven repository. Okay. We have to the Maven repository, google.com. Okay. And then here you go for Maven repository. And in the Maven repository, go to this section, browse and explore. From here itself, you can also link to your streaming application. For this reason, I'm going for it. Here you just write spark-SQL, spark-SQL. Yeah. So here you can see Spark Project SQL and Spark SQL FC. Just click on this. And according to the version, what is the version 2.4.0 with the 2.11 we are using? The Scala version is 2.11. Just click on here. And then here in this SBT, if you open this SBT, you're going to see. Okay. So this you copy paste. So the same thing that I copy pasted here in the IntelliJ IDEA. So SQL, Spark SQL, whatever the inbuilt or whatever the jar files that are required, that is getting added to your IntelliJ IDEA. And in the same way, here also we are going to make it out library dependencies. Okay, we have to make it out dependencies for library dependencies for equivalent to streaming application. How to make a streaming application? Again in the Maven repository only. Here in the place of Spark SQL, you write down Spark-streaming. That's it. Spark-streaming. Then you see Spark project streaming and Spark streaming. You click on here. Go to the version 2.4.0 and 2.11. Okay. And go to the SBT. Here SBT already it is showing. Okay. Just copy paste it. Okay. Control C. And then go to your IntelliJ IDEA. Just copy paste the complete thing. Okay. Yes, that's it. So then what is going to happen here? You have to refresh it. So some changes are there to the your Scala build tool. So just to refresh. Just to refresh here. Then it is going to add the importing all the necessary libraries that are required to run the streaming application that is getting imported here. Okay, let it be like that. Now we will understand the code, whatever we are developing. So we are running on the Spark Master. And here this in this master machine, I am running an application. That application, my application name is this one. You know, for every time whenever you start your application, it is going to generate one application ID. Here I am starting the local machine, so it is generally inbuilt. It is going to be created a one application ID because we are running this Spark application in the interactive shell part. Correct. So now here what we are doing, we are giving our own application name, and there is a Spark scheduler will be there. That is going to be mode is going to be fair. There are two types of the modes are going to be there generally. That is the two types of the modes are two modes. That is FIFO, FIFO, and FAIR, fair. FIFO is nothing but first in first out, and fair is nothing but depending upon the type of the job application that you are going to submit, it will create internally its own schedules here. It is going to schedule its own schedulers. Generally, if you speak, you write down here in the Google, what it is here, spark.scheduler.mode. Okay. Spark.scheduler.mode. Just I'm trying to any documentation is yeah here I will. No, the fair scheduler here you can see in the configuration we are going to set the fair here. Suppose grouping jobs into pools and setting different scheduling options. Example, wait for each pool. This can be useful to create a high priority pool for more important jobs. Each user together to give the user equal shares regardless of how many concurrent jobs they have instead of giving the jobs equal shares. So that means what I am trying to say here is depending upon the weight is nothing but the depending upon the number of records that are available within that file. So here we are going with this fair option. Why? Because here we are not reading our own data which is available on some location. We are reading the data externally from different sources. While reading the data from different sources, at that point of time, in their source, sometimes the data may generate, sometimes that may not be generated. So that is getting okay. That is getting monitored your fair scheduling, different scheduling options with the weight for each pool. So that which is having the high record that will be taken as high priority. So like that, the users who are going to be runs on the job streaming application. At the streaming application, we are making use of them. It is because to make your job to be run more efficiently while streaming the data from different kind of resources. Okay, so this is optional. It is optional. You don't need to put it. The default one is going to be the FIFO, first in first out. But here, if you specify like this, then it will give the first preference to this fair schedulers, and then it is going to perform the operations as per your requirement. Now we are creating the streaming context here, new streaming context, which we are creating the conf object. On the conf object we are running. That means conf object is nothing but your master machine. The master machine is nothing but your local machine, and which is going to using of your two core processors. So we are launching the job on the master machine, and there this streaming context has to take the data for every 10 seconds. For every 10 seconds. Here I am taking some input data from this location. This is my HDFS location where exactly I have a data Spark-lab. In this, I am going to create a directory called stream2. And here, what I am trying to do, whatever the input data is there, that I am going to stream it. Text file stream. Yesterday, I have shown you socket to text stream. That is to read from the port number. This is to read from your input directory. So text file stream from the input directory, and I'm just printing what is the files have been there. That output, whatever the files that I have been loaded to this directory, those files information that I want to print it on my terminal, and I'm going to start the streaming context. And here you see await termination. There is one more thing. Yesterday I have saying ssc.stop. That is to stop the streaming context at the Spark shell prompt. But here you should not give ssc.stop. Okay, what is going to happen? It is started and it will immediately stops. It is not going to do any kind of the streaming. It is not going to get any kind of the streaming data. So it is, we have to use one method called await termination. Okay. So what is this await termination generally to speak? Okay, let me explain this one. So that you will understand what is this await termination and how to make use of this await termination here. So generally what is going to be happen here is, yeah. So this, by this method only, the Spark competition will get stopped here. Await termination. We cannot say ssc.stop. Await termination, it is going to be stopped by this method. The competition will get stopped. That means until unless if there is no files or there is no data is not generating, automatically your streaming context will be stopped. Are you able to get me what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, Ravi. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, so now it is imported. Okay, before we run here, let me show you here what exactly that we are going to do. So here, whenever you are running this on top of your shell prompt, if you are running this code on top of your shell prompt, then you don't need to set any conf, any master, any application name, any scheduler mode. You can directly start the streaming context and you can use these things here. Now let me show you here. First of all, what we have to do, we have to import the arg.apache.spark._ all the APIs we have to import to our Scala from, and also we have to import arg.apache.spark.streaming. Okay, streaming._. All the streaming APIs we have to import here. Yes. Now what we have to do, we have to create a one streaming context. Okay, new streaming context. Correct? New streaming context, which is going to take what it is going to take? It is going to take the seconds of, for example, 10. That's what it is going to take. Let me see what is happening. Conf object. Yeah, only seconds, because already the conf object is created, because we launched the Spark shell from in the local mode. In the local mode, already we have launched it with the master mission as local mode. So just I am giving second step. What is happening? Oh, sorry, spelling mistake. Streaming, new streaming context. What is this? Yeah, so here we have missed it. We have to run on SC and seconds. So wherever the Spark context is running, okay, on that only that you are going to submit here. This is what we are forward. Now SSC Spark streaming context is started. Now before we start the thing, first of all we start the application, then we are going to add the new files to the location. Then only that new files only read by the streaming engine, not the existing files in the data. Okay, so this is what the first thing to be remembered. And then we'll start the application and then we'll put the new files to the HDFS location. Before we start the application, what I want to do is I want to create a directory, HDFS DFS -mkdir, where I'm creating Spark-lab. And in my application, what is my input data? Stream2. Okay, Spark-lab stream2. This is the directory I'm creating here. So this directory does not have any files. This directory does not have any files. So now, after starting the application, I am going to insert some files to this directory, and I will see whether the streaming engine is able to read the data from the files that have been loaded into your directory or not. Okay, so let us try to see that. Yeah, so now it is created. Now let me go to the directory Hadoop 30. And let me see what are the files are there. Yeah, here we are having some files in hdfs.txt, numbers.txt, okay, results.txt, or sample.txt will be very high, department.txt, okay, artist.txt, something like this we are having. So we are trying to put the files into this directory. Whenever we are going to insert the data into this directory, the streaming context is going to take that files, and it is going to return the results. Now let me. Okay, what I'm trying to do, I'm going to open one more terminal, and I'm going to put like this, and the CD Hadoop 30. Okay. Yeah. So LS also I will go for it, so that I can see the data what I want to move. Yes. So here streaming context is started. Now what I need to do, I have to create. Okay. I have to create a one input. Okay. This is what the input object I'm creating. Okay. It is not a sc.text file. We are not reading the data using of your text file. I'm just trying to create. I'm just trying to create a one object input object. This is going to be creating that. Okay. It is going to take the data from this location. Okay, so input is a one string object which is going to have the location of this file. Yes, it is a string object that is going to be created. Now what I need to do, I need to print the application. Okay, what is that here? I need to print this application. So first of all, to print the application, first of all we have to store into an object whatever the data that is coming, that is being loaded into your directory. So that we are going to store to the your DS1. DS1 is nothing but it is a discretized string, dstream1, where I'm using this SSC dot text file stream so that we are reading this data from this input location. Now what I'm going to do, ds1 dot print. I'm going to use ds1 dot print. Now I need to start the application. What is the application? SSC dot start. Am I correct? SSC dot start. This is to start the streaming application. Once I start the application, now I will go to here. Okay, now the application is getting started. Yeah, it is started. So hdfs dfs -put is the command. By using this put command, what I am going to do, hdfs .txt. This file I am going to load to the spark -lab. In this, I am going to load to the stream2. This is the directory where I am loading. This file I'm loading, and I want to see the output on my terminal, this terminal, streaming terminal, Spark shell prompt that I have to see what is the data hdfs.txt is having. Once it is successfully loaded, then only we can see. It is still loading here, hdfs.txt. Yeah, now it is loaded. And in the same way, here I'm going to go for emp.txt also. Okay, see here, you got the results or not? You got the results or not?
Yes, Ravi.
HDFS is having some name node, data node, secondary name node. Now I am loading emp.txt. You have to understand these things clearly. Okay. For 10 seconds, 10 seconds, it is going to get the data here. So now I'm going for one more file. One more. See here, what that is the emp.txt data, right? Only.
Yes, yes.
Student.txt. I'm loading. I'm loading the data into that same directory. So that means what I'm trying to say, we can able to read the data from the existing file using of your streaming context, whatever the new files that have been loading into that directory. Sometimes the client creates a directory and he is going to give some files. And whatever the files that the user is loading to that directory, the same way that it has to process it. Okay, at the same time that we want to process the data, at that point of time, we are going to use the streaming. Generally, in the Spark core or SQL, what we did, first the data is loaded, then that data we read by the sc.text file or spark.read. Am I correct or not?
Yes, yes.
Spark.read something like that we are going to have it. and then we are going to read the data here. Then we are going to process the data. Generally, if you see, okay?
Yes.
Generally, if you see like that, we are going to do it. But here, what is happening? We are loading the data to that location, the directory. Immediately, the streaming context is taking that data and processing it. Okay. So for now, just I am showing you how exactly the input data is getting collected by the streaming context that we are seeing. But in the next application, I will show you how to process the data. How to process that data that we loaded to the that directory. You can see here. So now you can see the data, right? Are you able to get the things? Everything is clear, right?
Yes, Ravi.
Yeah. How to stop the
Yes,
thing? SSC dot stop. Okay. Where false comma true. Like this we are giving. Okay. Yeah. So if I'm not going to load any data into this file, okay, so then it is going to wait for 10 seconds. Within the 10 seconds also, if there is no data is generated, then see, it is coming out of that shell or not. The job is completed, right? Whether you have write ssc dot, when I'm writing stop itself, 10 seconds are done. So then it is doing the processing here. This stop false comma true, it is taken. So that this is going to be completely one statement only. It will understand your streaming context. I have not written anything into this directory, so it is coming out of the scale. Are you clear with this one?
yes, Ravi. Yes, yes.
Yeah, Madan.
Yes, Ravi.
Yeah. Yeah. So now what we are going to do is we are going to set up this application with the IntelliJ IDEA. And most importantly, what I want to do here is I'm going to run the application in my IntelliJ IDEA only. In this IntelliJ IDEA only, I want to run this application. Okay, I want to run this application. For this reason, what I'm going to do here is in the main or test main, I go for it, right click. Okay, so what is the name that I have taken for my application here? In my application, I have taken the name as Spark Streaming App 1. Okay, the same name that I'm going to take it out. I don't want to go with any name. Spark Streaming App 1, that's I'm creating as an object. Yeah, so here I'm creating here. First of all, what you have to do, I'm just going to copy paste it. Okay, I don't want to write the things again. So here, from here onwards, what yeah. So here, what is going to happen here? This will give some errors because Spark can't predict something like that. So here, Alt plus Enter. Okay, Alt plus Enter. So then it is going to show you from where you can able to import here. This is also Alt plus Enter. Then it will give you from where you can able to import. Okay, and this is also Alt plus Enter or import from here. Okay, so now it is working fine. Okay. Now here there is extra is there. Okay, so now you can see. So now everything is working fine. Why? Because I have added in the build.act file this Spark Streaming libraries dependencies. That is the reason only here we are creating the new streaming context also. It is available and seconds also available. That is coming from your streaming APIs. Clear, right? So now understand here. Yeah. Now I'm going to run this application from this IntelliJ IDEA, but just by right clicking here. But if you want to run this on your Windows machine, so then you should have some Hadoop libraries. Hadoop libraries must be available on your Windows machine for sure. You can ask me now how to add the Hadoop libraries. Why we require Hadoop libraries when we are running Spark application only? That is the question. As I said, whenever you are going to work with any partitions you are seeing here, for example, sc dot log level. Generally, we use it to set up set log level. Sorry. Set log level. There is a one parameter is there, set log level, which I have already shown you. Log level, where generally it is a warning message, but now I'm going to set as a info. Yeah. So where L is equivalent to the sc dot parallelize. Sc dot parallelize of 1 to 20, something like this I'm taking here. Now, how many partitions you are going to expect for this L? L dot partitions dot size. How many partitions? Because we are using all the 4 core processors, so we are going to see 4.
Okay. 4.
Yeah. How many number of core processors are being launched with the Spark context? That is, master machine is launched. With that only the partitions are going to be created for your local object when you parallelize it. So now it is creating 4 partitions, correct? Yeah. If I'm going to say L dot collect, what is going to happen? What is happening here? It is going to show you how exactly internally it is going to process the data.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is going to process the data here, and then how the Spark context is running and how exactly it is going to be executed. That's what it is showing here. So it is processing local this much of amount of the data. For example, let's see in different way I will go for it. Sc dot text file. Here I am going to read the data from Spark-Lab. In this, I'm going to read the data from Steam 2. Just now I have loaded the data, emp.txt. This is the file that I'm reading the data. This is going to be the RDD. So whenever information is there, then it is going to give you something like this. What is happening? Yeah, it is created a one RDD. So L dot collect, I'm going to say what is happening. Let's see. So here you can see Hadoop RDD input splits. According to the number of input splits only, number of partitions are going to be created. Am I correct? That is what I want to show you. So according to the number of input splits, the file is divided. According to that only, the partitions are going to be created. That is the reason the Spark always requires its map reduce libraries. That is nothing but your Hadoop libraries to generate the partitions of your RDD. Are you clear with this one?
Yes,
Yes.
Ravi. Yes, Ravi. Yeah.
So here what I want to do here is, okay, so the same thing, if you want to have if you want to run your IntelliJ IDA, which is already had all the dependent jar files are available with the core streaming and SQL, but even though it requires some Hadoop library dependencies to run this application, okay, to Hadoop library dependencies, otherwise it will throw error and it will show one message that WinUtils, okay, you should have to understand this one here. I will give you that message here. You are going to see one message. That message is going to be say that Hadoop, okay, Hadoop Win utils file is not available. Okay, utils.exe file. Okay, binary or library files are not available. This is the message that you are going to see. Hadoop winutils.exe. So that means you have to add this Hadoop dependent jar files with the winutils.exe file. So how to add it to your environment here is just go to the your what we can say Google and go and search for the Hadoop. Okay, winutils. Okay, winutils. And here you see winutils.exe for Hadoop 2.6. Why I am going for Hadoop 2.6 here? Because I am running the Cloudera machine. What is the version I am running? What is the version it is running? You know, Hadoop space version. What you are going to see? The version which is running on your machine here. So what is the Hadoop version that we are running? 2.6.0. So for this supportable files only that I want to download here. So that is the reason I am going to say Hadoop 2.6.download. Just go with the first thing only, first GitHub, whatever it is showing. In this, just drop down the thing. Okay, drop down here you see winutils.exe file. Okay, just download it. Okay, download the file. It will be downloaded to some your download location or somewhere it is going to be downloaded. Something like downloads location, it may download like this. Okay, I have downloaded it. Download to some location. What you do is right click here and copy this. First of all, you copy this and go to your C directory, follow the steps completely. Go to your C directory. Here what you do is create a winutils directory. It is not the same as your downloads one. Okay, try to remember. This is a exe file. Here in Windows C, open your C and create a winutils directory. In the winutils directory, again create a bin directory. In the bin directory, you copy paste that exe file. Are you clear with this one?
Yes, Ravi. Yes.
What you have to do, just Madan or Hari, please tell me what you have to do now.
After
Yeah.
hello, Ravi.
Yeah.
After downloading that exe file, we need to create a one folder in C drive, Winix something, and on that one more directory we need to create bin. Yeah, in bin directory we need to copy that exe file.
Yes, that should be remembered here. Okay, and here up to winutils is there, right? And select this one, copy this path, Control C, copy this path. Okay, and you have to set the environment variable paths. Right click PC, go to the properties, okay, advanced system settings, go to the environment variables. Here you see in this we are having the new. Okay, here you see let's go to the system variables, not with the user variables. System variables, you go for it and create a new and give Hadoop underscore home that path. When I click on new, what is going to happen? Variable name value will come. Variable name will be Hadoop underscore home. Variable value will be the directory which you copied, right? That should be pasted here. Clear?
Yeah, sure, Ravi. Sure, we can do this.
Yeah. How do you set up your Java path, right? Previously, we used to set up path, home path and bin path. Yeah, the same way that you have to set this path. Okay?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So once you set, then you have to restart your machine, first of all. Okay? After you set this one, restart your complete machine and open IntelliJ IDEA, and now you can able to run this application. Okay?
Okay.
But before you run this application, okay, you have to do one more setting here. Okay, what is that setting? How to do it? Just I will tell you in 1 minute. Give me a minute. Understand this. So till now, whatever the settings are there, You can also do now itself also. If you are in the machine, you can do now itself also. You can perform
Okay.
this one.
Okay.
Okay. Just give me 1 minute. You can able to perform that if possible. Give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let us go with this one. Yeah. Okay, right? So, yeah. So here we have given this location. It is because we are reading the data from the same location where exactly we are running the Spark also. Your Spark application is running here, as well as your streaming context is also running here. And Hadoop is also available. HDFS is available on the same machine. So that is the reason you are able to say that localhost. But here, this machine is different. Windows machine is different. This machine is different now. So we are going to read the data from some other location here. What is that location here? If you want to know this location, what you have to provide? You have to provide IF config.
Okay.
IF config it will return the IP address of this machine. So you have to copy this IP address, and in this location, what you have to provide in the place of localhost, you are going to provide that IP address. Okay, in the place of localhost, you are going to provide the IP address. That means the HDFS is located. This is the master machine, and the machine port number is this one. This is the master machine IP address, and the machine port number is this one. In this, this is the directory, and this is the directory where I'm going to put the files, and that will be read by your this application, streaming application. Clear? Yeah. So now what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to remove the directory again. HDFS DFS -RMR Spark -lab in this stream 2. This directory I'm removing. Oh, sorry. Completely I'm removing. Again, I'm going to load the data, and we'll see how exactly that data is going to be collected by the streaming application at the IntelliJ IDE. Yeah, so it is completely removed and it is moved to the trash. Now I'm creating a one directory, dfs-mkdir, and here spark-lab. In this, I'm going to create a directory stream2. and I'm keeping like this only. So this is what I'm going to make up. Yeah. So here, first of all, what you have to do, first the directory is ready, then you have to start the application. To start the application here, right click here, save this one again, save this one. Right click here, see here, run Spark Streaming App 1. Like that, you're going to see a message. Run this one. Then it is going to build it, and then it is going to read the data here. Now I'm going to load some file directory in some files into that directory. What is the name that I want to show you? Okay, emp.txt. I'm going to execute. Once it is built, this complete application is built, then it is going to run. Let us see. It will take some time to build the application because it has to get all the dependent jar files of your streaming context. Just now we have added, right? All those things that it will take, and then it will run the application. Let us wait for it. So 0 warning, 0 errors. Okay. Now we have done it. Okay. Now the application is going to be started. You can see the application here, and at the same time that we are going to write the application. What is happening here? Streaming context. No class founder. Streaming context. What is that? arg.apache.spark.streaming, arg.apache.spark.streaming dot streaming context. Yes, that is only we have imported, right? That is available here. All that. So it is available here, but still it's not completely built, I think so, in the build part. Maybe what I do here is importing Spark SQL SDT project here. Oh my God, it is taking some good amount of the time, but it will generally it is going to run here. As I have here, you can see here, I have created one application here. I have created a one conf object which I'm going to set master machine. My application name is simple. And here, in order to work with your Spark SQL, you have to import this arc.apache.spark.sql. Spark session, you have to import it. And that we are creating this one here. Configuration. In the configuration, you are going to specify that, okay, this is the conf object where I'm going to run this one. My application name is EMP sample and master machine is local machine. And here I am reading the data from this location. From this location, sc.text file. From this location, I'm reading the data. And then I'm going to apply some processing on it. Like this is the location where emp.txt is there, and I'm converting into ID, name, salary, and I'm making into the case clause object, and then I'm converting into the data frame object. So once the data frame object is there, on top of data frame object, you can see anything. Now I'm stopping this application. That means Spark context. So this will definitely it is going to run here. So let me run this one and let me show you. That is not with respect to our program. Some dependent jar files are not been executed. That is the reason only it is showing. Otherwise, it could have executed. Now I will show you with this one. We can try those things after adding the WinUtils library. We can able to try those things here. Streaming context, how to add it. Okay. Yeah. So before it runs, let me show you one more application in the streaming, and then we'll go with our own sessions. Here, what I did here, I'm loading the data. I'm loading the data to the some files to the HDFS location, and then your Spark shell is going to be able to read the data here. But once the data is loaded, whatever the data I have loaded, that the data has to get processed. If it is to be get processed here, then how exactly that we are going to do the processing on top of the streaming RDDs. That means whatever the RDDs, this D stream, whatever the D stream is created on the D stream, how exactly it is going to be runs. That's what we are going to see. Okay, let me show you now. Yeah, see here running Spark version 2.0. Okay, Spark Quant is started. This is we usually get Spark Quant submitted the application. What is the application? Simple. And this is my machine name. My machine name is this one here. This is Windows machine name. Okay. So to this machine, it is getting submitted. What is the application name I have given? Simple. Simple is my application name. Here you can see here. Just a one simple application. So it is going to read the data from the HDFS location. From here only the data is going to be read. But this will work only when you added that WinUtils library to your C directory, and that home path when you set in your environment variables, then only this will work. Otherwise, it will not work. Taking a very good amount of time. Yes, there are so many processes are running. Spark driver is started. Okay, so it is creating a local directory for this memory start successfully started Spark UI. This is the location where exactly the job is getting started. Okay, successfully started this networking, and it is trying to read the data from that location here. See here SQL Spark demo. Now it is started this one. What is this? Here you can see. Yeah, this is SQL Spark demo. It is started. So EMP sample also we are going to see once job is submitted. Yeah. So here, see here, input splits are creating by reading the data from this location. You can observe here. This is the server name node, port number, the machine where exactly name node is running, and this is the port number of that machine. So in this location, this is the directory and this is the file it is going to read it. So that is what here, now here it is the application is running. Once it is read, then it is going to perform this operation and this operation, and then it is going to convert it to your data frame object. In order to convert it to data frame object, you have to import this package explicitly. Okay, import spark.implicits dot underscore. That should be imported here. So then only you will be able to convert a dot to df, des, these kind of the operation that you are going to see here. Job 1 is finished here. You can see this is the data only, right? You see underscore 1, underscore 2, underscore 3, underscore 5. This is the data that is available in our emp.txt. That is what it's done and stop the Spark Web UI. If you want to give your own names for this column, then what you can give here, employee ID. Okay, so then employee name. Okay, and then you're going to give employee salary. Okay, and then you're going to give gender. Sorry, gender, and then you're going to give department number. So like this also that you can able to convert to a data frame object. After converting the data frame object, you know, you can able to apply some queries here. For example, I want to say where D4 is equivalent to the, okay, where D4 is equivalent to the D3 dot, okay, filter, I'm going to apply. Filter, what I need to do, e-salary. Okay, e-salary, only one single filter. Okay, e-salary, see automatically it is going to say condition. E-salary is greater than 45,000, something like this. Yeah, 45,000. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to say select of the star, all the columns that I want to go to select. Okay. So then what you have to do, you have to see the D4 dot show, not D3 dot show. You have to see the D4 dot show. So this is what you're going to apply. So like this, you can able to run all kind of the operations here, and then immediately you save this one, and run the application. So this is what actually that I want to show with the streaming application also, but some library dependencies have been missed out. There is a reason it is not imported, but you can try it out. Okay, let it get run. By then I will show you one more thing. How to convert the streaming data into a data frame object and how to perform the operations with the data frame object here. You look at here, I'm having one more application. So here you can see here, we are taking the data from the one of the input location. And once the all the transformations are happening, then we want to write the data to one more location here. And here I'm taking the data with the text file input stream only, input. And here I am going to apply a window based operation. So what is this window based here? 10 seconds, and then here window based operation is it. Window based operation is nothing but 10 seconds, the data is going to be collected. Okay. For example, let me show you here. Let us try to understand this feature of your Spark stream. For example, my timing I have taken as 10 seconds. That means for every 10 seconds, one RDD is going to be created. This is one RDD, this is one RDD, this is one RDD. Like this, it is going to be created some every 10 seconds. This RDD is going to be 10 seconds, this RDD, 10 seconds, this RDD, 10 seconds. Like this, we are creating. Now, what is going to be happen? This 10 seconds output will be generated as a one result RDD. Okay, this is our input RDD. Okay, input RDDs, and these are all going to be the result RDDs. Result RDDs. So for this 10 seconds, this is the output. For this 10 seconds, this is the output. Like that, we are going to see the output here. But here, what I want to do here is I'm going to read the data 10 seconds only. But I want to perform. Okay, I want to perform the job. Okay, I want to perform the job here in such a way that one window I'm going to take it out. Window means I'm going to say 20 seconds. For example, my window I'm going to specify as 20 seconds. That means what is going to be happen for 20 seconds. This is going to be the one window. And here for both of them, one result that we are going to see. We are not going to see for every 10 seconds. In this 20 seconds, this is going to be your result RDD. So that means we can able to perform not on immediately on each and every RDD that is going to be created. We can also say that, okay, my data is collecting for every 10 seconds, but I want to do the aggregations based upon 20 seconds of the data here. 20 seconds of the data. That means in generally what is going to happen from the web server when we are collecting the data, we are going to save 1 second only because we don't want to miss any data. Streaming is okay, input is okay, 1 second, 1 second. But while processing also, we don't require to process 1 second data. Okay, we don't require to process the 1 second data here. We can process some good amount of the time here. In this case, what we can say, for example, 60 seconds. For example, 60 seconds. That means 1 second, 1 second, 60 RDDs are going to be created. On the 60 input RDDs at one time that we are going to process. This is called window-based streaming. Okay, window-based streaming application. You understand, right? What I'm trying to say?
Yes, Ravi.
So here what is happening previously, whatever the input RDD is created, immediately the processing happened and it is given the results. Like yesterday I have shown you the data which I have entered. Immediately for 20 seconds, whatever the data is entered, that is getting processed and you're getting the one RDD. Results RDDs. But here what I'm doing here, I'm applying one window. In the window with the keyword called window, I'm going to say how many number of seconds, how many number of seconds of the data that should be aggregated. I'm not aggregating each and every input data stream. I'm going to aggregate the combination of the RDDs, combination of the input RDDs. I'm going to aggregate here and I'm going to provide the result here. So that is what we are happening with this window based. 10 seconds it is collecting, but for every 20 seconds, the complete data is going to be aggregated. That is what the window based problem. We play with this one.
Yes, Ravi.
Yes. So here I'm going to apply some transformations on top of this data. What is the transformations I'm going to apply? I want to perform the word count job. Whatever the data that is going to be inserted to this location, this will be a text data. Input data will be a text data. That data we want to perform some word count application, word count job I want to run it. At this point of time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say one function called for each RDD. Why I'm saying for each RDD? Because here we are not having only one single RDD, sequence of RDDs. These are all sequence of RDDs. Yeah, these are all sequence of RDDs. Okay, sorry. So in this case, what is going to happen? This sequence of RDDs. So for each RDD is created, you have to apply this operation. What is this? For each RDD, I'm taking one variable. This can be X, Y, Z also. X implies. Here I'm creating where R2 is equivalent to the, first you split the data by space, then R3 is equivalent to the, for each and every word you assign one, then you assign to the reduce by key, then you convert it to a data frame object. In the output, what you are going to see, word comma count, word comma count. So I'm going to convert to a data frame object. In that data frame object, my name of the column should be word comma count. And that I am showing, and I'm going to write the data into the JSON format, and I'm using the append mode. What is the append mode? What is the append mode? Why we are using append mode? Any idea?
Yes, Ravi. To to remove the old data, sorry, not. It will append. It's
We are
not
having two
going
types
to.
of the modes, append
Yes,
and override.
override.
What is an append? Append
When you
will be
apply,
hmm,
just append the data. It's not. It's not. It's don't think previous is data available or not.
that means
Yeah, with
simply
the
for the
data.
existing directory. Okay, we have an existing directory. To this existing directory, it is going to append the data as a new file. As a new file that it is going to be appended. Okay, already it is having some file, but to that directory, again one more new file is going to be added this append. Override means it will completely remove the data from the directory. That means in this directory, how many files are there? All those files will get removed and a new data is going to be created. New file data are going to be inserted. Okay. But here what I am trying to do, I am taking that JSON mode append here. Why? Because whatever the input for each RDD, for each input data stream objects, whatever the files I am going to show it will process and it will create as a new file. It will create as a new file and it will write to the output directory. To this output directory, it is going to write it. If I am going to use override, what is going to happen? Every time it will remove the existing one, it will create a new file and it will write the newly streamed data only. Old streamed data which is processed that we cannot see. That is the reason whenever you are applying the streaming application at that point of time, we will go for append. So that from the beginning, whatever the data has been collected by your streaming context, that data will be processed and that processor output will be there as a file in the output location. And the new data, whatever it is coming, it is going to process it and it will create as a new file and that will be inserted to the existing directory. Are you clear with this one?
Yes, Ravi. Yes.
So here you can see here, this is the condition I have applied. Okay, and here you can see the employees who are having the salary above 45,000. That is only we are getting here. Basically, this application has to should execute, but it is not able to take the streaming context. There itself, we are having the problem. Let me execute now here. Let me run it. Okay. By then, we are going to work with this one. Already, you know, the streaming context is available in your machine. Okay. SSC is available or not. Let us check it out. Spark streaming context, something like that. We have created an object. Yeah, it is available. So now what I am trying to do here is I am going to compilation error 0. Okay. It is trying to execute here. There is a problem with the streaming context only. Otherwise, it will get executed. So let me see this one. Let me come back to you again. Okay. So you can also try because I am going to send this file. So you can also try it out. First of all, we'll go with this one. Var input location. Already we have created. Input location. Okay, and then I'm going to create a one output directory. Okay, output directory. Yes, so input and output are ready. To receiver and collector is ready. Okay, receive the data is ready. Receiving the data from which location is ready, and collection of the data and writing the data, that is both are ready. Now what I am trying to do, I am going to apply this one to take the data from the input. The receiver we are starting to take the input data from this location. What is happening here? Now you have to take from this one only, adding new inputs. Input SSC dot text function transformation and output operations. After stopping a context is not supported. This is the problem with this one. Yeah, okay. So here again, I will run this one, Spark -start. I will log in and I will see. Let me go and open here. Let me show you one thing here. Programming guides. This is 2.4.5. I don't want to go with the 2.4.5. I want to go with the Spark iPhone 2.4.0 documentation. Like this also, you can directly go to that. Okay, not to opening that spark.apache.org, something like that. We'll go with some different navigation, but here directly you can type it in the Google and you can go to the directly your documentation. Here we'll go for Spark streaming. In the Spark streaming, here you can see linking. Okay, there you see a linking here. Just click on here, then it is going to show you SBT library dependencies. This one. This is what the thing that we have to add it. Let us see this. We'll add it. We went with some other thing, but anyway, we are going to add this one. Control it. Okay, whatever the changes are there, now we are going to import those changes. Just refresh here. Now it is going to import those changes. Maybe this could be the one of the problem. I think so. Let's see. SBD. If you are implementing Maven, that you can go like this in the Maven. But here for Scala's build tool, that we are going to go to this. Initializing the Spark streaming context is, well, this is first we have to import this Spark APIs and streaming APIs, then you have to give this one. So in this case also, what I'm trying to do here is, I'm not going to specify only these things here. I'm going to say, let me take it out. Oh my God, it's doing 1 1. Yeah, so underscore, I can go for it. Okay, so underscore means it is going to bring all the data. And in the same way, here also we'll go with the. So if you open your Cloudera machine and IntelliJ IDEA means your system will be behave like this only. It will make you to irritate. Okay. Underscore. Okay, so now everything is satisfied. So just importing only this part, we are importing all the APIs to our application so that if anything is missed also, that is going to be imported. Okay, that is going to be imported here. Okay, let it get extracted all this. Yeah, it is starting. Oh, it's taking some time. Just give me 1 minute before it gets started. Oh my God, it's taking some good amount of the time because of this only. I will close that because I don't want to wait for this to talk. So that our RAM memory will be utilized more on this one, and then we can see the things very fast. So, what is this today? Yeah. Oh my God. HDFS, DFS, -LS, path-lab. In this scene 2, let's see if any directives and files are there or not. Yeah. Import org.apache.spark.underscore APS. No files. I'm making it ready. So here I'm going to say yes. Yeah. So now we are going to create a one more data DStream object, which is going to, this one is going to take every 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds, whatever the data that is getting inserted to this directory, whatever the files have been inserted, that will be taken care by the DStream one. This is one more DStream is going to be created with the window basis. That means 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, that will be stored to this 20 seconds, 20 second wise. One window will be created. On that window only that we are applying some transformations here for the 20 seconds of the data only. So that is what we are creating here. Okay, so we are creating a one window based operations with the number of seconds that you want to take it out and you want to aggregate the data. See here, this is one more DStream object which is going to be created, which is a windowed DStream. This is a mapped DStream. This is a windowed DStream. That is what the difference we have to see. And then now what we are trying to do, we are going to create this one. Okay, we are going to say complete this one. DS3 is equal to the, we are applying on the DStream 2, that is window based operations. On the window based operation only that we are going to apply here. Yes. Yes. So now it is going to be created here. So now what we have to do, we have to start the application. We have to start the streaming context here. Once we start the streaming context, then we are going to load the data to that directly. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to, once it is started, then load the data. Whatever the existing files are there, that is not going to be read. Only the new data that is being inserted after you start this application. Now it is started here. Okay. Now it is started. Now after this application is started, whatever the new files that you are loading, to that new files only that these operations are getting performed and it is going to provide the results here. See here, it is creating a table C, what sum count, which I have shared here, what sum count. But once it is, this data is loaded, then only in this what sum count, it is going to write the data. It is perform all these operations and it is going to write the data to that file. So again, it is trying to do reading the data from this directory, but it still it is not loaded. Today, Literally, my machine is not working fine because of, yeah, there is no HDFS directory. Oh, sorry. Here, what I need to do here is I have to go for Hadoop 30. In the Hadoop 30, hdfs.txt. It is trying to read the data, but not able to find any data. That is the reason it is not doing any kind of job. Now, once it is loaded, then we can see some output here. Let's see. Oh my God, putting the data, this is the amount of the time it is taking. Input path does not exist. Seen to hdfs.txt. Input path does not exist. Really? HDFS localhost 8030 seen to in this only we are taking care. Why invalid input path? So what is this input path here? We can use Spark-Lab seen2. Spark-Lab seen2. Yeah, so here you can see here, it is writing the data. It is written or not. Data node is one time, main node is one time having SNN, SDFS. That is the data that is available in this directory. Basically, CD Hadoop 30, I go for it. LS. Let me see some. Okay. So LL, I go for it. LL sample.log. This is what I'm having. Let me show the sample.log. What is this? This is the data that I'm having. Oh, it is having some different way the data is having. Hadoop.txt. We go for it. Cat Hadoop.txt. What is the data I'm having? This is the data that I'm having. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do, I'm going to load this data. HDFS DFS hyphen put Hadoop.txt to Spark hyphen lab. In this, I go for stream2. But it is given one message that the input path does not exist, something like that it is given. But still, it is done the processing. Now we'll see. Once it is loaded Hadoop.txt, we have to see hi, how many times, how many times are, how many times, like that way that we want to see the output. Yeah, it is loaded now. Now you can see the results. Yeah, see here. Are you able to see word come account? Are 2 times, not 1 time, is, you, have, how. Are you able to see the data?
Yes, Ravi.
Yes or no?
Yes, Ravi.
Yes.
This is what like structured streaming. We call it a structured streaming here. Previously only streaming. Now we are doing the structured streaming here. Let us go with one more data set. If I am having one more data set, that will be good for us. Getmerge.txt. I will go for getmerge.txt. Let's see. It is having some good amount of the data. How exactly this this will be done? Getmerge.txt. So once it is successfully loaded, then only we can see the output here. Yeah, now it is loaded. Now we can see the output here. See here, this is the output. Okay, this is the output that we are having in the getMessage.txt. So each and every word, how many times it is aware of. Are you clear with this one?
Yeah, Ravi.
Any questions? Any questions? So I will send you these files. You can also run these files on your machine and check it out how exactly it will get executed with the IntelliJ IDE also.
Okay, Ravi.
Okay. So then we'll see
Okay.
in tomorrow's session. And tomorrow we'll meet at 7 a.m. Okay.
Okay, Ravi. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Ravi.
Thank you, Ravi. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.